Hello, I'm Dr. David Rosensweet, and welcome to our 2 o'clock Thursday for I Wonder Doctor, in which we talk about the emotions, the mind, how you respond to stress, your lives, and call in any questions you have. You'll be live talking on I Wonder Doctor. Our telephone number is 888-502-8886. And I'd like to open today by something that is sure fresh for me. And many of you may recognize this situation. I was in the room in the house of a beloved family member of mine. We've known each other for 30, 40 years. And what happened is that she walked into the room and was silent and didn't look at me. And what went through my mind, if you find me stammering, it's because this is very close to home, but why not? I felt like it was upsetting to me, and I wanted her to say hello to me. And so I said to her, you know, sometimes it's really, I get a little uncomfortable when you don't say hello to me. I think, are you mad at me? You must be mad at me. Are you mad at me? And well, this was very upsetting to her because she was upset to begin with. And after a little talking back and forth, the voices raising, the emotional energy increasing. Have any of you ever been in a situation like that in your life? Where this is the things we don't talk about, right? This is the things, but they happen in our lives. And so many relationships, what is it? It takes place in the cauldron of those special relationships where you care about each other, you know each other, you love each other. It takes places with spouses, with best friends, with family members. This is where this takes place. And before you know, we're both really upset and really upset with one another. Now, as another family member pointed out later, that he was quite amazed that we kept admitting our own part of it, and I kept talking and it flared until we were both really upset, and mostly also upset with how we were with one another and ourselves, and walked away with that last night, not having resolved it, feeling ever so uncomfortable. And then this morning, my beloved Kim said to me, you know, no surprise. For one thing, if you look back on how life started for you on this earth, it was very common for some very important person in your life, your mother, to be preoccupied. And how did you interpret that as a child? You felt like there was something wrong, you had done something wrong. This is classic in psychology, where when a child is uncomfortable in a family situation, the child interprets it internally to believe there was something wrong with them. Shame. It's one of this lifetime's origins of the whole phenomena of shame. There's something wrong with me. Even though that might not have been the intent or thoughts of the parent. And in this case, I had leaped to that conclusion and was upset about it. And my goodness, that was revelatory to me. It was such a deep injury for me. And of the many things that happened, well, one of the most beautiful things that happened was this morning when we got back together, as we very, very commonly come to each other's homes. She was 100% responsible. And so was I. I had made it to the point where I realized what was the elephant in my room. That I didn't pause to evaluate. My beloved relative was not feeling well, was having a rough day. I didn't pause to think that. The very first thing that happened to me is I leapt into a story about what she was thinking and doing that had nothing to do with me at all. She was having a rough day. I didn't pause to be aware of what was going on, and if I had just been observant, I would have said to myself, "Oh, she's not feeling well. And I'm just going to give her space or be kind, or sometime during the day put my arm around her and say, how you doing? Sometimes you don't have to say a thing, just be kind and spacious. But no, that's not what I did. I leapt right to the possibility that she was mad at me, and then I was mad because she was mad. I was trying to make up for the story that went on my head, and the emotions can really, the fur can really fly. Well, this morning we had a good cry together, and my beloved Kim really helped me see that, you know, I didn't pause to observe what's actually going on in the moment. I just leapt right into the pain that I've held as part of me my whole life. And that pain is to be respected, because it's part of how we're operating these days. And one of the importances of our journey on earth is to identify those pain places and give them what they need, which is conscious recognition. Oh, I'm aware. Looks like she's feeling upset, and what do I feel inside of me? I feel very upset. Oh yeah. Well, I'm just going to take care of the elephant in my room, which is I feel upset. And just do what that upset needs, which is for me to tell myself the truth about it. I'm upset. I feel upset. I feel like there's something wrong with me. Because that was the main thing going on in me. This isn't rocket science. What was that all about? I got triggered internally to feel like there was something wrong with me, even though it had nothing to do with what was going on in her. And boy, as one of my teachers has named this, it's the pain body. And oh my goodness, my pain body just leapt into action. And eventually I gave it what it needs to take personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. What would happen to the planet Earth if the human race, one by one, learned personal responsibility? It would end all war and all injury to the planet. Let's start there. It would end all the poverty gaps, and it would make possible the golden rule. So, yeah, I'm so blessed. I had so many tears today of gratitude that I live in a situation where there are people in my life where we can be honest with our emotions even when they're not pretty. Blast them out into the open. And fortunately, because I've cared about this for so long, I knew ultimately that we were going to get to the bottom of this. And I knew the pain that was giving me the most trouble was the pain inside of me. And you know, I appreciated that we have built so much trust over the years that a part of me was relieved in these complex situations, that this beloved person in my life had the free space to freewheel emotionally right at me. I'm saying this because I think there's so many people who are in the cauldron of intimate, trusting relationship. Not everyone is, and I wish it for you. But because there's things that come up in marriages, in deep friendships, in business partnerships, where things really count and you spend a lot of time together, that would never come up when you're being nice on the streets, or you're checking out at a grocery store, or they would never come up there. But it's that wonderful educational, spiritually education cauldron of committed relationships where things do come up. And then what tools do you need? To notice when the pain is taking place inside of yourself, and to own it, whether partially or completely. Because I want to say this to complete this introduction today is, I never, as in never, make it to peace and understanding until I become 100% personal responsible with what my part in the thing was. And when Kim said to me, this is about an ancient pain in you, and that interfered, got triggered in you, and that just overwhelmed you, rather than the simple behavior of noticing that my beloved relative was upset and gone, oh, well, I'm going to give her the space. If anything, she needs the kindness. Well, at any rate, we're getting into some really nitty-gritty stuff, because I think there's probably some of you out there in viewer land that somewhere in the world that you know what I'm talking about, and how rewarding it is, because my goodness, I know what it's taken me to get here, to be able to resolve something as quickly as I have, and I'm so grateful. These are the big things. So, let's see if you have any questions today. Please call them in to 888-502-8886. And I'm going to pause here for a moment and see if anyone calls in. And I can say a few more things until someone calls in, if they call in. That it used to be that we used to think that let's see. Oh, here we go. Hello? This is Dr. Rosensweet. When I was growing up, we used to think to seek out knowledge, and we needed to find what in those days, and this is when I was in my 30s, this was back in the 1970s, that we needed to get teachers. And many of my friends actually went to India to get connected up with the best known teachers at that time on earth, which were the gurus. And many of my friends did, and you know how wonderful and what a privilege that is. But here's the good news about 2018, it's been actually true for a long time, is that life itself provides a living guru to anyone who is in committed relationship. So if you have a good friend, or you're married, or you're in a committed relationship, or even in a business relationship, that cauldron will bring up everything in you that needs to heal. And, thank you very much. Technical issues, the phone is trying to connect up here. It'll bring up for you everything that you need to learn. We don't have to travel anywhere. Our life itself is unfolding the perfect situations for us magically. No, life is designed this way, so that the very next thing that you need to learn is going to occur in your life. And even if you're not in a committed relationship, it'll actually occur in your own mind and in your own emotions, the very thing that's yours to learn. And so if you have some tools, some information, and even some support to work with your own life, it's like you're enrolled in the perfect university. And it's called the University of You, and it is going to deliver up anything you need to learn about. The situation that I opened with was I had more to learn about pausing to recognize that the pain that mattered wasn't about whether that person was upset with me or not, even if she was upset with me. The pain that was problematic was the pain I felt about it, which was really the pain of shame, feeling like there was something wrong with me, or I had done something wrong. So that's one of the great things about life. The greatest thing about life is living. And every moment that we can show up for and smell the roses, see the trees, feel the stillness, see the beauty, that's life. That's the greatest thing in life. And anything other than that is grist for the mill. It's the perfect things you need to see firsthand, up close and personal, that are yours to heal. And instead of resisting it, take them on, because it will never get better than this. And you know, many people make this huge mistake that my relationship, there must be something wrong with my partner. I must move on to the next relationship because that will be the perfect one for me. This person the relationship I'm in, they're obviously not loving me enough. I'll find the next person. No, it's not like that. The things that destroys relationships, especially with those of you who have fallen in love, for example, the thing that destroys relationships is you start bouncing back and forth this unfinished individual pain, and you think it's someone else. You think it's your partner, or you think it's and it just drives a wedge between relationships. Whereas the skills to develop personal responsibility, to recognize your own pain and do well with it, okay. All right. Do you want to hand me that phone? I'm ready.
Hello, Dr. David.
Hello. Who is this?
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. We had a little technical phone issue. What's your first name?
My name is Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks
How
for
are you?
calling in. It's a special day for me. It's a special, wonderful day. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm thrilled to get through because I had some revelation in my own experience that I think maybe you could shed some light on, hopefully.
Please,
and
yes.
It's concerning taking that personal responsibility for your own emotions.
Yes.
And it's a place I've been working towards. And on this journey, I have made this correlation, and it seems to me that when I have a highly emotional, stressful situation, and I don't handle it at that moment, and I mean either with a word battle or, you know, getting angry or running away or doing something like that, and I just try to be with it and take that personal responsibility, and then maybe sleep on it and work through it the next day. I have noticed that when I hang on to that, or when I try to take that personal responsibility, I wake up with what some people call fever blisters, or a cold sore, or one of those places on my lips that are so uncomfortable and last for weeks. And I don't really know the relationship there. I guess it's holding in something, and it comes out maybe in another way, but I haven't figured out a way to stop that from happening.
Well said. And just the physician part of me, I can tell you this is happening all the time. We're so multidimensional, and if we don't handle an important situation, how do I know it's important? Lots of emotional energy involved. Something important's going on there. If we don't handle it the way, in the best of ways, we express it on every level, including our physical body. And yours happens to be a fever blister. Well, someone else is expressing it in a little injury to a coronary artery, or to their liver, or to their gut. It's happening. It happens. Anything that happens anywhere is happening everywhere. And I think it's just marvelous. I mean, marvelous, not for you, but, you know, we get this feedback like, oops, I have this blister happening. Something really trying to catch my attention here. But let me ask you, what do you mean when you take personal responsibility? You were doing really well in describing, you had the upset, and then what actually did you do when you said you were taking?
What seems to be happening is I'm blessed with many gurus. One exciting one happens to be a child who is amazing and is able to, really speak to me in a way where it brings up a lot of emotional feelings. And when he was younger,
I'm sorry, I lost you. Pick up with where he was younger. When he was younger.
When he was younger, and he was dealing with a mother, it was, easier because as a parent, you could, instruct them, go to your room, don't talk to me like that, I don't want to hear that, things like that, where you have these controlled environments. But when they grow up and they're still trying to teach you, and they're an adult, and that dynamic changes, you don't, if you want to, I think, continue a nice relationship, then you don't have that way of getting out of dealing with whatever emotional...
Give me an example, Sharon, give me an example Like, number one, how old is this child now?
He's just in his early 20s.
Okay, and can you give me the example of the upsetting event that you were referring to in the beginning?
Okay, so we're doing a project, and say he thinks he knows the best way to accomplish it.
Yes.
Yet, being older with experience, I feel that no, this probably is going to be a better way. And so youth will throw up their hands and say, "Okay, you do it.
Yes.
You know the best way."
Yes.
When you really need the help, so then you say, "Well, no, can't we work together?" And then it's back and forth, that kind of thing.
And the pain got ignited. The pain got ignited.
So usually, as being the parent, you can, I would say, "Okay, fine, just leave, or I'll handle it, or I'll take care of it." But instead, what I know that this wonderful young guy is really trying to teach me something, and something that keeps coming back around. So I haven't handled it yet.
What do you think he's trying to? What do you think he's trying to teach you? Of course, he's not trying to teach you. He's just living out his life as it's unfolding for him, and he's having some emotional responses along the way. But what do you think that the lesson is there?
I'm not exactly sure of the lesson. I think that's still being figured out. But the avenue that I have been taking is, instead of having any kind of uncomfortable back and forth conversation, what I've been choosing to do is step back and just try to view it differently, or just try to understand more so where he's coming from. And it's bringing up really charged emotions in me at different points, and the situations change.
Okay, let me. Everything you're saying is so poignant that I want to focus in for a moment, and before picking up further, I love that skill of, in the moment, being able to step back. Because you're sensing that, how I'm approaching this, I've been down this trail before, this isn't working, and you pause and you quote, "step back." I love that. That isn't necessarily the total key to the highway, but I call that advanced learning right there. Your pause.
I treasure the relationship, and I know if I'm going to keep going down that road that you just described as the highway, it's never going to bring me anywhere.
Right, and so this is one of the things that treasured relationship, that love, is there to teach us is, if things are starting to dust up, if emotions are starting to kick up and they're uncomfortable, maybe I should pause and try and get a different view of things. Am I correctly describing what you did there?
Exactly. It's something that I really want to do. I want to figure it out. I want to get to the bottom of it.
Right on. And so I wanted to salute you, that even though it didn't solve everything for you, and of course I just interrupted you, but it didn't solve everything. But man, let's pause on that skill. You decided to pause.
Thank you very much. That has taken a little while.
No kidding. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing?
It is amazing.
Something that theoretically is so simple to understand. Sometimes, some of those things, like that particular quality, could have taken me a decade to figure out. But now let's go.
It has taken me a couple.
Yes, that's right. And these are the most important things to learn, though, because they lead to love, and they lead to more consciousness, and they lead to more life. So it's so worth it. But then the next step, the next thing you said to me was, and when you stood back to become conscious of what was actually going on in the moment, you noticed some really uncomfortable feelings. Did I get that right?
Absolutely, and it's that same level of uncountability.
What is it?
That same emotion, irregardless of the situation. It's maybe feeling disrespected or not, not having someone understand or...
Lovely. Let's pause right there. That's really useful language. What I'd like you to do is to close your eyes and put yourself in that exact situation, and following the words, the pointers: disrespected, not honored. When you feel not respected, not honored, what do you feel? What emotion do you feel? Trust it. So right underneath that event, where many people would agree, if we saw a video of it, that there was rather remarkable disrespect going on, what you feel is sad. And just breathe and feel. Do I have that right? You feel the sad?
Yeah, I mean, there was anger in there.
Trust that.
Well, initially you're angry, but if you really shut your eyes, as you asked me to, and feel the emotion, it was sadness that somebody else could act the way that might make you feel that way.
Well, let's respect them. Let's respect them both. Let's respect. They both sound very natural and very appropriate. Feel what you feel. Take yourself back to that scene. I know this is a little artificial. It's trying to recreate something that in the moment is pretty fiery. Can you feel?
I can feel it, Doctor. Trust
Okay,
me.
great. Good for you. Good for you. Now breathe and feel it. Let whatever emotion you feel there be exactly what it is. I will not be saying change it. I will not be saying heal it. I just be saying feel it. Breathe and feel the anger and the sadness or whatever's there, because emotions, they move. Once you start feeling them, they're energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion. They tend to oscillate back and forth or become something else. Breathe and feel the anger and the sadness.
Wow, I'm still alive.
Yeah. That's remarkable. Because sometimes in the moment they don't feel like I'm going to be able to live through that. But breathe and feel the anger and the sadness, or whatever is there.
Okay.
And Sharon, right?
Yes.
What do you feel right now in this moment? I'm just checking in.
I kind of feel like it's okay.
And when you feel that would be the language, I kind of feel like it's okay. What emotion is associated with that? I kind of feel it's okay. What emotion do you feel?
Well, I think I could be wrong, but I think what the emotion I was avoiding was being hurt. But
Well, no. Let me just stick with. What emotion do you feel when you feel kind of okay? Things are kind of okay. Just breathe and feel whatever's going on now.
I kind of feel love.
Yes.
I do. I kind of feel love.
Exactly. Because this is the gift that, for one thing, just to review the process, you told yourself the truth about what was going on in the moment, like upset is rising between me and my son. I'm going to step back, and then what you did is you felt what was going on in you. This is the very thing that, as much practice as I've had it, occasionally something comes down the pike where I don't do as well as I would love to do. It's so great when you do it right. You felt angry and sad. When you turn the focus on yourself, what's going on with me? Well, it started with when you chose to step back and become conscious of what was going on in you, you felt the clues you got is you felt disrespected, dishonored. And then I said, and when you feel disrespected and dishonored, very important concepts, what emotion is going on? And you felt sad and angry. And then I went quiet because there's nothing underneath sad and angry. That's one of the bottom. So I could go silent. And then I went silent for a little bit, and I asked you what you feel, and you said, well, I feel kind of okay. I'm reviewing it, not so much for you, Sharon, but for others. The very next thing you felt was, I said, well, when you feel kind of okay, what do you feel? And you said, you feel love. This is how it works.
It's beautiful because to start the conversation about the emotions that I shared with you, and then in that short a time to come around to, well, he expressed what he needed to, I dealt with it, and by dealing with it, I've kind of let it go, and I've come back around, and it's the son I love. So that was amazing.
Yes, and I must acknowledge for our listening audience that this is the full natural process, and that you happen to be really gifted, because you just gave all of us what the best iteration of it can possibly be, and it isn't that it's no more complex than that. And to break it down, that's how the natural process works. You can see a version of this in a young child. Is they're very upset, the tears come, and they have the big cry, and then moments later they feel happy again. It's a natural process where that child connected with what was the feelings that were going on in them. In that case, they cried, and 2 minutes later they feel great, and they're out playing again. Is a classic example. Well, you did it. You did the conscious adult version of it. You paused, you recognized what really mattered, what's going on in me. You told yourself the truth about it, and most important, you felt what was going on in you, and what that does is it goes to love, it goes to peace, it goes to stillness all the time. It's that uncomplicated. Yet that first step can be monumental. And the second step, where you feel your actual emotional feelings and accept them, allow them to be what they are. Notice that I didn't say, get rid of those feelings, or change those feelings, or heal those feelings. I didn't say any of that. I just said, feel them. It's a natural process, and this is a classic example how some of the biggest upsets that go on in us. And let's review other aspects of it. You felt disrespected, and you did the only remedy that I find works in my life. You brought in the medicine called respect, and you felt not listened to. And you brought in the only medicine that I've ever found to work is you listened. And who did you bring that to? Yourself. And the very respect you were looking for, the very listening to you were looking for, you gave to yourself. And I'm just blown away by that, because...
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible, hearing you say that. And it being exactly what happened. That's really
Isn't
incredible.
it amazing? Because like
really
when I was younger, I thought I really needed that respect, and I really needed people to love me, and I really needed that love. And you know, that turned out to be wrong, because lots of people loved me and respected me, and it didn't do the job. It wasn't until I started getting, well, you want some self-respect? Respect yourself. You know? Pause. Listen to the truth of what's going on in you. As I was pointing out at the beginning here, I had help. I've gotten so grateful that I usually do this myself, but this morning Kim helped me with a tough one. She said, David, pay attention to what's going on in you. What's going on in you? And I said to Kim, well, I just feel hurt. I just feel like no one ever cares about me. I just feel shame. I feel like I am doing something wrong. When I hit the shame, the same thing happened to me that happened to you. The relief started coming in, because it was the truth. It's the truth will set us free. Duh. When I connected with the truth emotionally, when I felt the shame, or more poignantly, when you connected with the truth, you brought love of self. You brought self-respect to yourself. And you know, as lovely it is to have someone respect us and love us, I think the ultimate is there comes a time in our life where we need to learn this for ourselves, because that's where it works. When we do, and that's what you did. You did it for yourself.
Wait, but the help that you gave me on this call also made me realize that, you know, growing up and even into adulthood, people said, "Oh, you're so healthy and you don't get sick because you don't hold anything in and you just let it out," which is an adult now. I don't, you know, I wouldn't, or I'm not continuing to do that, because what I have seen and heard and now want to practice is that self-responsibility. And so, as we just talked about, instead of having a conflicting conversation, I have been trying to just walk away or take a step back or, you know, do that process. But what I did figure out in this conversation was when I was walking away or holding it, I was just holding on to the bad emotion, and that's probably what was giving me blisters. But when I was on the phone with you,
right,
you brought me down to that level where you said there's nothing deeper. And when I felt that, I wasn't feeling the anger anymore. I wasn't feeling, you know, that real charge. When I felt that sadness, it was something that I could work with. But I didn't, you know, before I thought I was working with something, and I thought, well, why isn't this working out? Why is this happening?
Well, it takes all those steps, and, you know, it's really the University of Unconditional Love. I mean, it all started out that you had a wish, even though I don't think it's a correct wish, that your son just unconditionally had love for you. But I think the unconditional love that's so crucial is the unconditional love we learn how to give to our very own self. What you did is you discovered the truth of the pain of not being respected. You burrowed into that truth, you leaned into it, and you felt that underneath the concept was the anger and the sadness. And you did an act of unconditional love. You accepted the actual anger and sadness. That's what you did. You allowed it to be the exact energy that it was, and that works. That's healing. And then you get in contact, you turned inwards, and you then ultimately you connected with who you really are. That love you feel is actually the nature of our being. That's where we're connected to the divine. We're feeling our soul, our heart. We're feeling our connection with the divine. We're feeling divine love, the part of us that's connected to love. It's not even an emotion that comes from anywhere other than inside.
It couldn't, because when you said to me, "Now what are you feeling?" I was amazed. Like, I didn't know if I could say I'm feeling love, because it was such an amazing feeling coming from where we started.
Yeah.
That I thought, no, it can't be right.
Right. It's just so amazing. When we do what we need, the effect is so rapid. This is not the big deal. And yet we can avoid things for decades of our lives. And then when you get the real thing, oh my God, it's that simple. I'd like to say one other thing, Sharon. I think you did a very important first step there. I think for so many people, it's the hardest step. It's, you paused. And so I salute you for there. And listen, there's even more to this particular story, but our time is up for today, and I thank you so much for calling, and what a pleasure and an honor it is to walk this out together.
I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because, as I said, you know, my reason for calling, I thought, I'm not doing anything but hurting myself in the process as it was happening. And now I know, now I've actually felt what can happen if you
That's
really
right.
get to the bottom. And
That's right.
That's priceless.
Yes. So thank you,
Thank
Sharon.
you so very much.
You're welcome. My honor. And for everybody,
birthday.
yes. And this is I Wonder Doctor Live, our 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon segment of working with what could have been a better illustration than what Sharon called in with. So I'm Dr. David Rosensweet. Please join us every week, 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. It's been an honor to be with you.